Hello everybody! I hope you can all hear me. I can definitely hear myself. Well, Thanks for joining. It's been a long time. So the last stream I did was about March last year, March 2020, right when the pandemic started. So welcome. And I hope you all made it through that horrible year of 2020 and that slightly less horrible year so far of 2021. I hope that you all went through the pandemic time without, major organ damage, I guess.
It's not over yet.
Well, here it is. If you are not vaccinated yet, get vaccinated, please. I've had my jabs in the last 2 months. I'm fine. I did not get the disease as far as I'm aware. So please do that. So, hi, welcome to all the 18 people watching now.
He's got another country to pay for his vaccine.
Well, technically, well, we'll get to that. So, first of all, I have 4 people here with me today, well, including me. One more is supposed to join. So, as you might have noticed already, Microblogganism is here. So, hi, Micro.
I'm not here.
You're not here.
I don't exist.
Yeah, I noticed. Then Amarai is here from the Netherlands. Hi, how are you?
Chilling. You know how it goes. Every moment is a waking nightmare.
Yeah, I do know the feeling. I'm a PhD student. And our human C3PO is also here. Hi, Rumpus.
Hello, I'm here in spirit, I think, but not in body. I'm currently got a mentally, my brain is currently hurting, so I may not be functional.
All right. So you mean less functional than usual? Is that even possible?
Yeah, even less functional than usual. Yeah.
Right. So this hangout will be I assume rather short one, maybe about an hour or so. It will be parted in 3 parts. First of all, I guess I kind of owe you guys an explanation where I've been. There have been questions.
I know where you've been. You don't have to explain that
where
to
I've
me.
been, but my audience doesn't know where I've been, Micro. So
it doesn't matter.
let me explain what happened to me in the last 18 months that caused me to disappear from YouTube for a while. So when we last spoke, when I last spoke to you in March 2020, I had just accepted a position as a PhD student. Well, not at home in Franconia anymore, not at home in Germany anymore. I am now in the Kingdom of Denmark, in the capital region around Copenhagen. And my position started May 15th, so I'm now pretty much halfway through, a little bit less actually, through my PhD time. And unfortunately, obviously, this comes with a lot of time requirements for the project I'm working on. And unfortunately, the apartment where I was for the last 18 months, that suffered from a seriously unstable and pretty crappy internet connection. Now I've moved again. I'm in a different apartment, even closer to my university. And I have a nice new internet connection, which is super stable, just as I hoped it to be. So I'm back.
Also, SciFDK is correct.
Yes, SciFDK is correct. but stop doxing me. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's pretty clear where I am. I mean, there's 2 universities here. And if I said capital region, then it's clear that I'm not in Copenhagen itself.
Technically, there's 3.
Yeah, but that stupid one doesn't count. I have no idea which one is the third one you're talking about. Yes, and I do realize
the other
soon screen.
The other universities in Denmark have departments in Copenhagen.
Right. So that's part 1. Basically, I'll try to stream as much as possible starting from now on. Maybe about 1 stream a month, maybe 2. That depends a bit. September will definitely a bad time regarding that, and so will be October. But when it comes to the holiday season later in November and December, I'll definitely do a little bit more. Now that I can actually do some experiments myself regarding, long distance photography, considering the fact that I'm no longer in the beautiful hills of Franconia, but in the flat, foolish nightmare of Denmark.
You just have to deal with all the buildings.
You know that there's this thing called Öresund?
You want to show them Sweden? Why would you do that to them?
Well, if there was more Denmark on the other side of the Öresund, I would do that, but unfortunately
there is. It used to be Denmark, and they have to give it back to us at some point.
Are you talking about that island? What's it called? Ven? No, it's not.
No, we used to own the whole south bits of Sweden.
I know, but it's not anymore, is it?
It should be.
All right. So, yeah. Keep looking forward to that. Now, I'm gonna torture you a little bit. So, you might have noticed that certain flat earther by the name you all guys know from Blackpool, he had his channel deleted a while back because he spread coronavirus nonsense. But well, I just found out that he has a new one, and well, there's a bunch of videos on there, and we're gonna take a look at a few of them. So, no, that's the wrong one. There we go. Riley has a new channel.
Yay! He's
Yeah.
breaking YouTube's terms of service.
Well, did you expect anything better from him? Because I didn't.
No, I just wanted to point it out.
Yes, SciFDK, I've seen that post in the server. I'm gonna talk about this one later. But yeah, that needs to be addressed, definitely. So I haven't seen any of these videos apart from the newest one.
You're still stirring the starting soon screen, apparently.
No, I'm not anymore. Just
No,
it's
it's
running
not,
out.
Okay.
YouTube.
But yes, I
Okay.
was still sharing that one because I don't really have like a discussion page yet.
Sorry, how's he breaching the terms of service?
Basically, when
Um,
YouTube kicks you out, you're not supposed to return.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, no, okay.
You can't make a new one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, do you guys have a suggestion which one we should watch and then make fun of?
Oh, well, that vacuum one is quite a good one. Yeah, the last one is.
The last one.
Yeah, that is a good one. Yeah,
All right.
that is-
What are all these that look like like surveillance footage?
I don't know what the audio is. I watched this like yesterday and I got bored of it after like 2 seconds.
It's Pop Goes the Weasel.
I know, but I'm not sure if he's talking, so I'm not sure if we can mute it without losing our sanity.
There's no way to find. There's only one way to find out.
Okay, then let's just play it. I'll stop when I see something that makes my head hurt.
Can you stop? It's already making my head hurt. The face is there.
Yeah, that image is painful.
It takes time because the air and the bromine molecules are colliding with themselves and each other. So what would happen if there was
basic
no air
diffusion.
for the bromine to bump into?
Are we explaining
All the
why
air
things
has been removed from
boil
this
when
apparatus,
there's no pressure?
apart from the flask containing bromine, which is isolated by a tap. Open the tap and it spreads immediately.
Oh, that's cool.
Watch again.
Immediately. Note that
Well,
word.
It does. Like
In a vacuum, there's no air
in
to
a
collide
colloquial
with.
sense, it's
The
there
bromine
immediately.
diffuses much
Well,
faster.
the thing is that Ruhif did a little, or someone did, I can't remember who, checking the colour of it, and they actually showed that it's not immediate at all. Checking
That's
the
why I
colour.
said colloquially. Like it's
Okay,
almost
well-
compared to if there was air inside it.
Well,
is-
it's crucial. Part of his argument is that it is instant, as in, I can't remember now what his argument is, but I think part of it is that it's absolutely. There's no.
Okay, then he's an even bigger
But
idiot.
that's not really
Yeah.
his argument. So the way that I
No,
understand
no.
his argument is basically he sees that it spreads evenly throughout the entire container. Which is okay, that's a fair argument to make, but he obviously misses the big point, which is you won't see any differences in density, concentration, over that height of what is like half a meter. If you did this in a column that would be a few meters tall, then you might be able to already see it. Bromine is pretty heavy.
Yes, it's quite dense, isn't it? Of course, presumably it was a liquid before the tap was opened.
That
You know
depends on whether
what's
they
also
already
dense?
filled it in the vacuum. So bromine,
Yeah.
it does have a very, so as you correctly say, at room temperature and 1 bar of atmosphere, it is a liquid, but it does have a very high vapor pressure. If you pour it out, it will evaporate. A few drops will evaporate in a few minutes.
Right.
And by the way, stay
Okay,
away
well-
from that stuff. It's like super disgusting and it turns you infertile. So,
Yeah.
well, maybe Riley should get into contact with it then, I guess.
Could you rewind just to see what state it was in at the start? It was a liquid. I
Yes,
can't
of
remember.
course.
I don't.
So
It's a
maybe-
gas, I think.
I would say, yeah. Well, it looks like there's a drop in there.
Oh, yeah.
If you can see that, maybe.
Barely.
But then
Like,
again,
bromine
does
really
not
doesn't like being liquid.
As I said, it has a very high vapor pressure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure actually what the boiling point is. Let's see.
The boiling point is the point where it boils.
58.8 degrees Celsius.
Right.
That's not that hot.
No, that's you can get it to evaporate pretty easily by just taking it in your hand. You see the fumes come off. But only do that in a fume hood, please. You don't want to smell it. I smelled it. It's disgusting.
Also, don't put it in your hand.
No,
In the
like,
fume hood.
I mean, like, not in your hand yourself, but in a flask that you hold in your hand, Micro. God damn it. And yeah, that will probably penetrate right through nitrile gloves, so don't do that.
Well, there goes my dream of a bromine enema.
No, you can totally do that.
Yeah,
Although, does it technically an enema
Only a
if
few
it's
times.
gas?
I mean, it's pretty disgusting. Just don't do it.
So is enemas in general, so...
Well, let's continue.
And it spreads immediately. Watch again. In a vacuum, there's no air to collide with.
I'm sure he
The
makes some
bromine
sort of
diffuses
argument about
much
it being
faster.
instant.
Oh, let's find out.
See how slow the diffusion is
Well,
when the
that's fine.
flask is now full of air.
No, it's not.
It takes several minutes to get just this far.
That's not a...
Is that all?
Six, a method pop.
No, wait.
Half a page of mathematics.
Oh,
a
God.
Bible
Oh, God, he's
full
trying to
of
sing.
lingo. Along comes scientific
We're too quiet here to
method
hear.
pop. Goes your model.
You're not hearing... He's just singing a very bad rendition of Pop Goes the Weasel.
I know, but I need to torture the audience. I'm so sorry, but this needs to be
You
done.
can't have pressure or
Also, why did he
gradient
find
in an
someone
open
playing it on a fucking
system.
recorder?
Pascal's laws, your fucking science. Pop goes your model.
You can't sing, Riley. Please stop.
Nathan Sleeping Warrior, Arwen and John Stunger. We've tried and tried to tell you all. Pop goes your model.
Well,
Okay, I usually like Riley's videos, as in I press the like button just because, you know, I find it funny, as in the stupidity, but the singing here made me actually dislike it. That was pretty horrifying. I'm sorry, SciFDK, that I exposed you to this. Maybe I should put a big ass warning label on that live stream, you know, just 18 plus. So yeah, he indeed makes the argument that is he trying to say that under their model, you know, the bromine would just spread slowly, which
he's ignoring that gravity exists.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, he's...
Yeah.
Which is why I'm saying if you want to try this, just use a taller container. And use a heavier gas. You could even do it with iodine vapors. Maybe.
You know what we should do? We should drag Riley in front of the Hague for war crimes.
But we're not in a war. These are just crimes, basic crimes against humanity. They're not war crimes.
We can still drag him to the Hague for that.
Well, if you want to sue somebody for crimes against humanity, The Hague is probably the wrong location. I know a better place.
At least I will be there to stomp his face in. I mean,
No,
Are you
don't do
just
that.
are you saying
don't-
that
don't
because
say
you will
that.
have
That's not
you'll have the shortest travel time?
bad, Mariah. Don't. We're not encouraging violence here.
I'm not encouraging violence.
Yeah, encouraging violence for the purpose of justice. There's a difference.
No, I'm serious. Don't do that. I don't think that's justified.
Yeah, fair.
He deserves 72 hours of psychological evaluation, but no stomping.
Yeah, I've forgotten that there was I had a huge debate with him in the chat of that, the comments of that thing, and he was basically claiming gravity is not a force, etc. I can't remember what the other points. Well, I pointed out that this is absolutely right because he's using this as an argument as to why gas would disappear off into space if it was a vacuum out there, of course. And I can't remember now because my head's hurting. What it was?
That's all you need to know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
gravity's
just
not a force. it's
typical
basically a-
inability to understand scale, right? Because obviously in our model we have this, like 40-kilometer tall or so column of air, and he can't recreate the pressure differences in this type of device that he showed. It's simply too small. You need a high air column to see the pressure differences.
Yeah, I mean, his basic argument is that everybody, if you look at any sort of website on pressure and what high pressure goes to low pressure, and therefore, if that was the situation on Earth, all the atmosphere would disappear. But of course, what it doesn't recognise is the thing. Pointed out for many years now to both him and Oakley, is that there's a pressure gradient. We have high pressure at ground level. Mount Everest is 1/3 of that. Oh, so why isn't it following what the observation we've just undergone, and all the gas disappearing from ground level up to Everest in a huge? Given the pressure difference there is greater than you would find in a hurricane, you'd expect hurricane force winds in the atmosphere's keenness to go and be on Mount Everest. But it doesn't do that, which means there must be a force acting on it that's stopping it doing it. Wonder what that force is.
It's actually worse. Every single time you point out that, there's pressure differences when you drive up mountains, just because you're higher up in the atmosphere, they completely try to diverge. Or is it diverge? Yeah, diverge, I guess, the conversation. Because they can't answer that one.
Yeah.
And then, they just hand wave it away and they say, like, oh, it's just the weight of it pressing down or something. We've heard that from Riley, we've heard that from QE, we've heard that, I think, also from Peter and Pete. Just thinking about that just makes me cringe.
Well, QE diverts, as you say, or evades any answering at, or obfuscates is another good one, or deflects from that by simply saying, "Oh, but you can't." Let's talk about where the initial pressure came from before we start talking about pressure gradients, because they don't want to talk about pressure gradients. They'll do anything, as you say, to avoid answering that question. But it's so basic. How do you account for the fact that the atmosphere is not shooting up to the altitude of Everest, which that experiment that Riley just showed there would suggest it would? And that's because all the experiments in the lab and all the rules that you see on websites are all about lab-based experiments. And as you say, they're not 40-column or 100-kilometer up to the Kármán line, bloody situations. And most websites are not covering the situation in the atmosphere because it's not really relevant to lab experiments.
I mean, they have no idea about basic physics. That's what all their quote-unquote arguments can be summarized as. Do you remember last year when Oakley tried to take on Thunderfoot?
Was it Riley? No, wasn't that Oakley?
It was Oakley.
Yeah, he said Oakley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then him not understanding what kinetic gas theory is.
Yeah. And he complained, because actually I was engaged with him at that point, and I was saying these behaving like bouncy balls. And so he then said, no, it's not. And then Thunderfoot came out with a video shortly around that time. And so Oakley went for him, saying that he was talking bollocks. And it's not equivalent. There's not analogous to bouncing balls. Because, of course, he thinks that because steam and things go upwards, and because they think and the QE does this, they think you can only have one vector. They seem to think that because gravity acts downwards, therefore anything that's affected by gravity can only ever be going downwards, ignoring the fact that you can be going upwards. I keep on saying, what happens if you throw a ball up in the air 500 meters per second, because that's the sort of typical velocity of a molecule. If you threw a ball up in the air 500 meters per second, it would go up to, say, 100 kilometers, probably something around there, particularly if there was no friction. And that's what atoms and molecules do.
Assume a spherical ball in a frictionless environment.
Yeah.
No, assume a spherical cow in a frictionless environment.
Yeah, right. It's a physics joke. You don't need to get it.
Sorry, I didn't get. My head's hurting. So yes, they don't understand. So that's the way I try and get through to them to understand that it can. And they also did. I mean, QE doesn't understand that when something's going upwards, it can be accelerating downwards. I mean, he's even made a video about me saying this to him, saying, oh my God, Rumpus doesn't understand what the hell's going on. This is how ridiculous. He claims you can have acceleration downwards when you've got velocity upwards.
Okay, so there's a comment in the side chat from SciFDK. Apparently, Oakley thinks that gas can have no weight. And yeah, that's also the first counter argument I would come up with. As a part of my work, I work with this thing called inert gas glove boxes, which are basically these kind of metal and plexiglass kind of containers which contain an atmosphere inside of usually pure argon. so that you can work with samples that would die in an oxygen atmosphere. So in air, they would, decompose. But in there, they are safe. And since our one is not currently hooked up to the argon lines in the building, it's my job to actually every 2 or 3 days hurl around a 40-liter argon cylinder. through
It's to mix. It's to refill it when the argon.
Oh god. Yeah, and the empty, they weigh about 35 kilograms, and full with about, I would say, about 10 cubic meters of argon at 1 bar, which is approximately 200 bar in that cylinder. They weigh about 70. And, argon is a pretty good gas when it comes to its ideality, I guess. So it's very, very near to ideal gas conditions.
Yeah.
So it doesn't liquefy like butane does. You can directly see that gas has a weight. And then, of course, there's things like sulfur hexafluoride, which is just, even at 1 bar, just much heavier than air is. Or just carbon dioxide.
Read Cypher's new comment.
He's saying that gas has no mass, period. Jesus Christ. I mean, the stupidity is real.
So where does the mass go when something's like you boil something?
Exactly. Yeah, and also let's not forget Riley and Oakley. I think particularly Riley, about a year or so ago, claimed that it didn't weigh anything unless the atoms were touching one another. In other words, like a herd of. He seemed to think that if a herd, they have to be in a herd or something, have to be collected together before they'll weigh something. Have to be. We made a joke about them locking horns or something like antelope or something. Unless they're actually in contact with one another, they don't weigh anything. But once they come together, suddenly they weigh something, which is obviously the phase change between a gas and a liquid or something. But he didn't seem to accept that. He seemed to think because of no intermolecular bonds, and Riley and Oakley's relay the same thing. Therefore, there's no mass simply because they're not connected to one another. Suddenly, the mass disappears, the weight disappears simply because these atoms are not bonded to one another. Very strange.
Look, Rumpus, I'm pretty sure that if you ask them what a bond is, they would have no idea how to answer. Literally no
I think
clue.
they do, actually. I think they do. They do have a vague clue about that one, actually.
I don't think so.
The way they talked about it,
they probably think atoms in a molecule are connected by little strings.
Oh, by the way, before we talk about this, there's something that I need to post in here.
Oh no.
Which is, so for the people that don't know yet, my master's thesis was actually converted into a paper. So if you want to read this, I'll post the link in the side chat. Or actually just the address actually, or the citation.
So I was wondering something, right?
There we go. So that's my article. That's the article based on a master thesis. If you want to read it.
So I was wondering, right? So this guy doesn't think gas is mass, right? Then
gas has mass.
Yeah. So this guy thinks gas doesn't have mass. Then if gas didn't have mass, the sun wouldn't work, right? Or am I just being an idiot?
I'm pretty sure that nothing would work. I mean,
yeah, but they don't believe
universe as we know it would break down.
But they claim that the sun is just a light in the sky, and they have no idea what it is, so they don't care about what the sun does.
What about Jupiter?
They think that's a light in the sky as well.
Yeah, either that or.
These are flat earthers, remember? I mean, you can't get... if you're a flat earther, you don't accept the planets are doing anything. You don't understand what the sun is. You dismiss that we can do spectroscopy to understand what's going on there. They don't believe the space is out there and it's a vacuum. I mean, these guys are not at the first step here, and you're asking them about Jupiter. I mean, they've yet to make that first step into reality, let alone step 100.
It's so sad. It just saddens me.
Like, I'm here to make you guys look smart.
Well done. Thanks, Pickle. But yeah, it is incredible, this idea of gas, no mass, unless they comes together. So that how on earth they think, when you liquefy oxygen or air, where does this mass suddenly come from? It's just
I wonder how they would react to liquid nitrogen or dry ice.
Like, okay, so also, what you earlier said, right? Like, I read somewhere that like atoms don't really touch each other, right? Like no touchy, right?
It's a meaningless term. Touching is a meaningless term at that scale.
Yeah, it is.
Like-
if you want to be pedantic about it, it's basically the electron clouds repelling each other.
Yeah, like how? Like I'm here to make you guys look smart. Come on.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, I'm a moron. Like I'm a shipwright by trade, not a
No, you're not.
PhD student.
I
I
mean,
mean, there's nothing wrong with being a shipwright.
Like I can build you a boat, but don't ask me to
I'd
mix stuff.
actually like a boat, please. I'll call it hidden.
yes, I'd
I
like a
can't.
boat. Can
I
have a
can't
boat,
build a
please?
boat.
Yes, I can't build a boat. Yes, I can sail them, but I can't build them. So I'd like one.
You can sail them.
Yeah, I used to sail dinghies quite a lot as a used to. I won a couple
Same
of
here.
competitions.
Nice.
I can build you a
Congratulations.
ship if needed, but
I hate
the
boats.
amount of money that's gonna cost you something.
I'm not made for the sea.
Yeah, and also,
right over there.
And as Joachim Mack has pointed out in the thing, Brian's Logic just had a chat with Mr. Sensible on his channel the other day, yesterday or day before, in which he expressed the same thing, that gas cannot have mass because it doesn't have inertia, because it doesn't have weight. My God, this guy's got everything reversed. He thinks that if you have to have weight to have mass, not understanding, of course, that you have to have mass to have weight, and you can't have mass without weight. And of course, then if you start saying if you're going to space, you still have still have mass but no weight. They say, "Oh," he was saying, complaining. Don't talk about places we don't know about. Let's just deal with And he seems to think you can only have a weigh thing in air. It's got this very strange idea, along with the rest of them. They don't believe that you're allowed to weigh things in a vacuum chamber, so that weighing a balloon full of helium is a valid thing to do in a vacuum.
I
They all
have a
believe.
better thing actually. Why the fuck don't then the powders I have and I store under vacuum just float the fuck away?
The powders.
Glue
Yeah,
them
so
down.
some of the chemicals I store, I need to store them either in that atmosphere or I can just store them in a vacuum. As long as there's no oxygen, they're fine. And I actually like to store them under vacuum because basically the air pushing on the stoppers actually makes them seal better. Which means that even though there's a pressure gradient, the seal of the flasks they use is better when there is no gas inside.
Don't they go all over the place then when you have to hoover and you take the vacuum cleaner out?
No, you just open it very slightly when it's connected to a Schlenkline, do it slowly and it's fine.
A schlinkle? What the hell?
Schlenkline.
It's
like a
it's
piece
a piece
of chemical equipment that allows you to connect
They all-
flasks to inert gas and to vacuum.
They all have weird German names. All the parts.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
I don't believe that in English. I can't.
I'll show you. In English, I think it's called an inert gas manifold.
All right.
Everybody
okay,
just calls it a Schlenkline.
Because a slink line sounds way cooler. That also does sound like a euphemism for penis.
So for those who don't know, let me just show this to you.
No, you can't show that on YouTube.
I'm
TOS!
talking about Schlenklines. So
Yeah, so am I.
let's see if I find a nice
Don't
picture.
show us your slink line.
Actually, I think I took a nice picture of one myself a while ago. Just give me a second.
Yeah, I think I recognise. Yes, I think you did show me. I think something like that.
Where is it? Just somewhere in my pictures.
While you're doing that, I just point out that this flat Earth, the problems these people have is just the tip of the iceberg. They reject gravity, i.e., the fact that God knows, the fact you fall down, things go down. They reject the things gas have mass. They reject
There we go.
pressure gradients. I mean, these guys have got so many problems. The flat Earth part of it is just one symptom of a major intellectual problem. And of course, it's usually based around, well, I haven't seen it, therefore it doesn't exist. I'm sure half of them don't really believe in Australia.
So I'm pretty sure the people in the live stream can now see the picture I'm posting. You guys are not streaming it over Discord, I think, so you might have to look into the live stream
Yeah, I see like little
to watch it.
like
Yeah,
red
so-
thingies.
Yeah, so basically this is a setup in which you can, if you have a piece of glassware that needs to contain inert gas, you can connect it to this setup, which is connected both to an inert gas outlet and to a vacuum pump. And then you can cycle it between vacuum and inert gas to flush all the oxygen out. This setup is called a Schlenkline.
It's just a load of rubber tubes and bloody valves. Doesn't
Yep.
look clever to me.
Well, it's pretty neat. If you know how to operate it, it's pretty good thing to have.
There's a little more to it than that. Like it's slightly more complicated than it looks.
I would send you a diagram if you want one.
It's not phallic shaped enough. I'm very disappointed.
Well, apart from the, the condenser trap, that's a little bit phallic. If you really want to do it. Glass dildo thingies.
I'll accept that.
Well, if I'd been living in the 19th century, I'm sure I could have had that named after me, because I'm sure I could have invented that.
Yeah, but you didn't.
Yeah, only because I wasn't around then. If I'd been, we'd have a rumpus line. That's what we'd have.
So you're saying you were so lazy you couldn't even bother to be born earlier.
Yeah, I was a bit late to the party, obviously.
So I've been sent 2 videos by SciFDK about Oakley.
Oh boy!
Apparently, one is a compilation of some sort called I don't know what's called, Nathan Oakley Boom Boom. I'm just gonna ignore that one because that sounds disturbing. And the other one is called Gases Are Weightless #shorts. Let me have a look at that one.
Is that a recent one?
Weightless.
I don't know. Oh, it's actually an Oakley video. Bleh.
It is, and
Oh
it
God,
is recent.
this is gonna be disgusting. Let me see if it's being streamed correctly.
It is.
Yeah. To you guys as well.
It's
Alright.
luckily less than a minute long.
Well, then let's have a look.
It's shorts.
This is gonna be bad, isn't it?
Yep.
Why is it to be weightless? Well, let's ask Simone Gert, exhibiting gas-like behaviour. Very zen.
Whee!
Gas, which expands in all directions.
So gas. So they got some obsession with
Rumpus, stop. Let's just play this through so that we can actually hear it, okay? And then afterwards we can talk about
This
it.
is very low.
Yeah, let me try to. I don't think I can make it louder, so you guys have to set it up on your Discord, and I can hear it fine, and the stream is fine as well, I think.
Okay, well, go on.
Zen. Gas, which expands in all directions, and unless it collides with something, just carries on moving in that direction, regardless if it's up, down, left, right. Pretty much like this chick. She's floating around, right? A bit like gas. And she's trying to achieve what now? Oh yeah, weightlessness. Is it unreasonable to say gas?
He is.
In all directions?
In that clip.
It's weightless? I'm pretty sure that's a reasonable thing to suppose. Because gas is weightless. It's moving around in all directions, not going down, go boom boom at 9.8 meters per second squared. So I thought I'd make this video to assist Brian's logic in his attempt to explain to a lot of fundamentalist religious zealots with a globe belief that gas doesn't have weight in your paradigm. It is weightless.
Mariah, why are you step dancing on your microphone?
Oh, that's just my microphone being shut.
Oh.
I mean, what the fuck was that?
Because gas molecules are gas molecules, they don't have weight
or mass. I think was it. I couldn't hear what was
one follows from the other.
So, okay, what I got from it, right? So, if I'm in a environment without gravity, right? Like, let's say in the middle of space, and I would throw a hammer right at his face. That thing would not hurt him because in his eyes it won't have mass, right? Right?
Well, he's saying it's weightless, not it's massless.
Oh, I think he's saying it's massless as well.
Yeah, he does.
He's saying that because gas molecules move around and like don't fall to the ground, their effect, it's as if they're weightless.
And therefore massless, I think, as well. I couldn't hear what was being said.
Honestly, I don't think actually hearing what he said helped much.
No, it doesn't. It's just
really
meaningless.
weird.
It's meaningless word salad and dribble.
Well, put it like this: Brian's logic had a debate with Mr. Sensible, echoing what Oakley believes, and he was saying that gas has not got mass or weight, or inertia, because it can't have mass because it doesn't have inertia, and it doesn't have inertia because it hasn't got weight.
Gas doesn't. According to him, gas doesn't have inertia. That's fucking retarded.
Yeah. Barry On says they say it's massless. They say.
gas
We have
moves at
no
the speed of
resistance.
light?
I'm pretty sure that he would disagree with himself if he said that gas had no inertia if we put him behind a fucking jet turbine.
No, he's literally saying he's implying that gas moves at the speed of light.
Well, I don't think he's not doesn't understand the implications.
No, that is the implication of what he's saying.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that implication. He's not.
That doesn't stop it from being an implication.
But on a more practical scale, how on earth does he account for the fact that fans blow you about a bit? You know, you turn your fan on, and then Brian's logic had the same problem on Mr. Sensible's 2 days ago, and he said he couldn't explain it really. He claimed, and what was he saying? He claimed that a fan works. The molecules have Although I can't remember now. His logic was so insane, I couldn't quite get my mind around how he explained how a fan doesn't work or does work if the molecules hitting you are massless, and he didn't really answer that. Damn it, I can't remember now what his claim was.
You feel the pain. You feel the pain of them slicing through you.
Yeah, he said there's something about them moving around rather than having momentum. And inertia is the wrong term anyway. I mean, the point is they have momentum. That's the thing that you feel, and that's the change of momentum that bashes you, causes them to exert a force on you. Unfortunately, Mr. Sensible got inertia mixed up. He talked about resisting the inertia of something as though when he actually meant momentum. So Mr. Sensible was obviously not as bad as the chap is, but he was struggling to get the right term sorted. But Brian's logic, anyway, claims that fans work for other reasons than gases are subjecting you to a force and having momentum. It's just so insane. I mean, I think that he used that image as well. That clip that was just being played in the Oakley clip of that woman floating around. He used that as well, and so they're all in the cahoots about this. So Oakley and Brian's logic and Riley all agree on this massless, inertia-free, weight-free gas. Even though, and then when you say something, well, hold on, if I do put a balloon in a gas chamber, in a vacuum chamber, and then weigh it, they said, but you've had to put it in a container. Why have you had to put it in a container? And then I come back with, well, how would you measure the mass or the weight of something that's running around at 500 meters per second? You've got to stop it jumping out of whatever it is you're putting it in. Gas is moving this. So if you had bouncy balls that were moving at 500 meters per second, how would you weigh some of those? You'd have to put them in a bloody container, wouldn't you, mate? The gas is no different.
Yeah, again, it comes back to the good old saying. They haven't read. They don't understand a single bit of physics.
They don't understand the things they don't understand.
State anything. It's a shame. I mean,
let's remember
is that because of their education, or are they willingly ignorant?
Well, Riley didn't know what a force was until about a year and a half ago and explained to him. And when you're standing on a floor, he claimed you were not exerting any force on the floor. And if I removed the floor, he did accept that you would fall through the floor. And I said, therefore, there's a force acting on you. The floor must have been exerting an equal and opposite force to stop you falling down. But for some reason, he didn't quite accept that.
It's even dumber than that. Because if you're not exerting a force on things you stand on, then you should be able to make your floor out of paper.
Yeah. But these natural logical ramifications or something, they just don't go that far. They only stop at what they want to believe. You see, I think part of it is also they want to keep themselves stupid and ignorant, because if they do that, then you can't use logic, evidence, and reason against them. It's the sort of shields of stupidity, as I put it. If they keep themselves stupid and ignorant, then they can just ignore any argument you make and say that's just rubbish. You're just gibbering. I don't understand it. Therefore, I don't understand it. It's not true. So they have actually an incentive to keep themselves stupid and ignorant.
It's the same kind of behavior you see with the religious folk sometimes.
I don't think they're doing that deliberately.
Oh, they are.
No, if they're keeping themselves stupid deliberately, that implies that they know how stupid they are.
No, they don't. They just know that it's not a good idea to learn something when what they've learned, that knowledge they may acquire, could be used against them.
Do you remember a while ago, Micro, when I made the arguments that flat earthers cannot suffer from cognitive dissonance?
No.
Well, because cognitive dissonance kind of requires your capability, that you have the capability to understand that you believe in two contradictory things. flat earthers do not have that cognitive capability, it appears.
Yes.
Which
Exactly.
means, as a
You don't-
result, they cannot suffer from it. They are too stupid and live in this
Yes.
ignorant, well, what should I call it? Bliss of ignorance, I would say. Bliss of
Yeah,
stupidity.
They live in the moment.
And that's why I say they like that.
Exist only in the moment. They are not they're not comparable. Like they don't ever interact with each other.
And that's why they like this state. If you keep yourself stupid, all you have to do is then believe what you want to believe. You don't have all this awkwardness of having to deal with these laws of physics that might interfere with your belief. If you learned about the laws of physics, then that'd interfere with what you wanted to believe. And so therefore, deep down, subconsciously, they find that learning physics is a bad thing because it'll interfere with what they want to believe.
It's almost as if science is hard and sometimes not completely finished.
Yeah, that's
yes, I mean, they're confused by it as well, so that makes an extra incentive not to learn about it or understand it. But I think part of it is they know that it'll be used against them. If they do learn about science, they know deep down at some level that it will be used against them, so they avoid learning about it properly.
Yeah, it's really fucking sad. I mean, we live in the age where all the information that humanity has ever gathered over the last 10,000 years or so is basically available over your fingertips, yet they choose to ignore it.
Yeah, well, it's not what they want to believe. It's when you want to believe something, it's a very powerful incentive not to come into contact with things that might disturb that belief.
Okay, I really want to know what the hell the weird surveillance footage he has is.
Which one can you?
All the ones that are like weirdly gray that looks like they've been filmed. They have been filmed by a. Like,
just take the first one. I'm just gonna play it.
Oh my God, the Cavendish one. Oh Jesus, you would not believe this.
The Cavendish one. Okay.
What am I even looking at?
Right, you're not going to believe this, but the way Riley designed this, he had a bar suspended, balanced on a pin or something, and it was free to rotate. Oh, it was on a pin. That was it. So it's not on a string. It was on a pin, so it could rotate freely. Now, those of us who are familiar with what the Cavendish experiment's trying to do, you need something to stop. It's a torsion balance, and so you need to be able to measure what there's a force present. You need to have on a torsion balance so that something is the movement of the balance is resisted by the twisting of the wire. But they eliminated that, so it's got nothing to stop it rotating. I mean,
I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like what am I physically looking at here?
It's not clear, I'm afraid. Yes.
It's almost like every experimental setup they make
is utter
garbage.
No, I mean I'm physically unable to see what like. Is it a bucket with tinfoil?
Yes, it's a bucket. Yes, it's a bucket.
Okay, that makes
transparent. There, I think you can see a ball. That one.
That makes more sense.
You can see a ball. I think there, a little ball.
Yeah, I think you're right. Right there.
Yeah, but it's free to rotate. In fact, you can see the ball at the other end of the balance as well. You can see at the other end. There's another little ball.
Yes, I can.
I
assume that water canister, or whatever that's supposed to be.
That's the weight, yes.
By the way, that looks exactly like the chemical waste containers we use at our university. And that one is slightly overfilled. You're not supposed to store them like that. That's dangerous. Don't do that, please.
I think I presume it's just got water in it.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, he's dealing with like buses and stuff, so it might be something like motor oil.
It's just urine.
Yeah, but it doesn't have. If it's motor oil, though, it wouldn't. Oh, it wouldn't have. It'd have a label. Yes, it's. No, as you say.
Do you expect Riley to label his waste products properly?
He identifies chemicals by smell.
Like it. Oh my God.
Yeah, so the point is, it's as well as obviously everything being too small, and also as you can see there, the ball and the weight are far too far away from one another. You need to get them to be really close to have any effect. As an inverse square law, so if you double that distance, it's a quarter of what it should be. And I think we actually worked out what the force was, and it was between the masses and the weight or whatever it was, and the distance, and it was something. It was totally non-measurable. It was so tiny. It was something like 1/10 or something of the force that Blue Marble and his Cavendish experiment was.
You also want the weights, the big spheres, to be as compact as possible for that reason.
Yeah. So you can get close to them. Yeah, exactly.
See if we have another one.
There's loads of them.
Oh god. Let's go for this one.
Intentionally moving the masses, nothing happens. Yes, there you go. So they're moving the masses to see if anything happens.
That's the mess. Is that a toilet paper roll? Looks like
it doesn't look like it, does it? Yes. God, I mean,
massive toilet paper.
I mean, it would explain a lot if this was actually lead paper
actually,
or
it could be
something.
it could be a coil. Actually, it looks as though it could be
I don't think it's actually toilet paper.
It's actually a coil, isn't it, wrapped around a thingy?
No, my first idea was that it might be duct tape, but it looks way too tall for that. So the bottom seems to be labeled. What the fuck is this?
It's just...
That's the more interesting part of this, is trying to figure out what this object is.
Maybe it's like some metal sheet rolled in a...
Also, why did he cover everything in aluminum foil?
I think probably to remove electrostatic.
Yeah, that could be as a makeshift Faraday cage. That's I guess fair enough, but
and maybe also because of
because they're obsessed with electrostatics. They always claim the Cavendish thing is not allowing for electrostatic forces, and Brian Leakey goes on about that.
It hurts.
They love electrostatics. I mean, I think they're all sort of nascent electric universe people, actually.
There are, yeah.
They just love electricity because it's mysterious, and therefore they can feel it can account for everything. It's a sort of, I mean.
Hey, wait a second. So he's actually offering us a way to calculate gravity, or, well, as he calls it, relative density. Let's have a look at that. I'm gonna mute this a bit.
No, go back. Read the disclaimer. Read the disclaimer at the beginning. No.
Do not substitute maths or equations for
So you're not allowed to analyze your results. What? Don't analyze your data, kids.
Well, he does say do not substitute maths or equations for experiments. It's not quite the same thing. He's saying you are presumably allowed to do maths on the data you get, but don't do it as a substitute. I think
he has no idea how much math you actually need in physics, in chemistry, basically in every part of the STEM fields, engineering, to predict anything, right? If you build an internal combustion engine, how much mathematics does he think you need to actually do that without the thing falling apart?
Riley, experiments don't prove causation. That's not how that works. Experiments only yield correlations. Sometimes those correlations are strong enough that you can assume that there is a causation.
Yeah. And the thing is, they keep on saying that experiment proves things, yet what they keep on offering when you got something that's inconvenient, like curvature of the Earth or something, they will then say, aha, that actually what you're doing is oh god, what's the term when you have A implies B and you get B and then that implies A. Oh my god, my head's hurting too much too.
So a circular argument?
No. A implies B.
Oh, you mean like
B,
deductive and inductive?
Yes, it's inductive. Oh god, what's the name of it? It's Jesus, my headache. If I could remember, I can't.
There's two types. There's inductive and deductive. I'm sure which one you're referring to.
Well, there's inductive and deductive, but that's oh god. Oh Jesus! Basically, if you say that if I eat pizza, I get fat, and I'm fat, therefore I eat pizza. It's the reverse of the A implies B, and you say you take B. It's what science does, because what science does actually do that. It's called oh damn it, affirming the consequent. Thank you very much, Fred. Affirming the consequence. In other words, because B is the consequent of A, and so if you have B, then you affirm.
Circular argument.
Well, no, it's not. No,
that's not a circular argument. Rumps is right.
Yeah, it's so in other words, if you say something like it's raining, and therefore, if you say if it rains, then the roads are wet. But if you say, right, the roads are wet, therefore it is raining, that is affirming.
Oh, I see.
It could have also been snowing and thawing, for example.
Yes, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
But science does actually do that.
You observed something to happen, but you didn't see all possible causes for your observation.
Exactly. And that's the thing. But science does do that. Science does actually affirm the consequent, because what you do in science, though, is you try and remove all the other possible C, D, E, F's, G, H's, and Y's that could be causing B, and you eliminate those, and then you then say, well, it's looking like, if I've eliminated all the other possibilities, that A is the cause of B, and B is not caused by anything else. And then you think, right. And that's what science, you've got the correlation, you've removed all the other potential causes, and so you then say A causes B. I mean, amusingly, Riley did an experiment with moonlight, showing that it was going to be that it causes things to cool down.
Yeah,
so he did an
made
experiment.
The classical error of putting it into the wind, and the other one
yes,
covered.
Well,
I can't remember what he did, but anyway, the point was he got the cooling effect, and therefore he said that implied it was moonlight, but it wasn't. It was something else. So he actually did the affirming the consequent problem, where he said he thought it eliminated the other roles, but he hadn't. So he actually incorrectly applied to affirm the consequent, whereas science does correctly apply. Well, obviously people try to. Scientists make a big effort to affirm the consequent, but they do it by removing all the other potential causes.
He can see the moon, therefore moonlight cannot be cold. There we go.
Well, he took a temperature.
You don't need to measure temperature.
If
moonlight is cold, you can't see. You wouldn't be able to see the moon.
Well, he did an experiment when he used. I mean, a couple of other flatties did it as well. They took the temperature of something in the moonlight and then not in the moonlight, and then found the moonlight. One in the moonlight was cooler, but it turned out he'd done something else. I can't remember what it was now. He'd put something else next to it or something. I can't remember what it was, and in fact, it showed actually when this effect that he was getting actually happened if it was not in the moonlight as well. I can't remember the details, but basically he removed the actual cause of what was causing it to be cold, and it wasn't the moonlight, because he did it without using it. He did the same experiment, but without moonlight at all, and he got the same result. And it turned out to be some other. I can't remember what it was. He put something next to something, and so he had exactly this problem with affirming the consequent, but didn't do it properly. But science is about affirming the consequent, and but it's valid to do so if you've eliminated all the other possible causes.
That's why you test hypotheses.
Yeah, and the trick, I mean, GeoStreamer presumably spends his entire life trying to make sure that there are not other causes of an effect he's looking at, and he's nailed it with
Thanks for not including me, I guess.
Sorry, Micro.
Well, Micro, you're technically not doing it at the moment, so...
Yeah, I've close enough.
I couldn't remember whether you were active at the moment. I think you were last year. Right.
I'm still not. Nope. I'm still trying to get a fucking job.
Okay, right. Okay. Sorry, Michael. My head's not working properly at the moment.
It's fine.
So that's so many hours in the laboratory making sure that everything's proper and clean.
Yes, all this contamination. Yes, I mean, of course, you and Micro have all this problem with contamination, of course, it's screwing everything up.
Especially with a bunch of my colleagues who are very filthy in their work.
Yeah, quite.
It's because they work in larger scales. You know, when you have a kilogram of material, a few milligrams of contamination don't matter that much. But right. I work in the milligram scale.
Oops.
Yeah, so everything must be super neat.
Yes,
in fact, mycoplasma can suck a dick.
Yes, in fact, actually, you're in an ideal situation to describe this problem, because you are always having to deal with affirming the consequent, and eliminating all those other variables.
Yeah, at this point, my table for the catalysis is basically 9-dimensional or so. I stopped counting.
Right, God. So yes, I can't remember how we got on affirming the consequent now, but they keep. So in other words, yes, so they use the argument. So immediately they talk about proof, where they don't. That's why science doesn't prove things, because you can never know. It's not invisible green fairies doing it. You can never eliminate all potential causes. All we can say is there's a correlation. But then when but oddly, then people like Riley and Noakley say, but science proves things. Science, using an experiment, you can prove something. And then when you go and say, what about this curvature thing? And they then say, you're affirming the consequent. And that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, and this is a case of cognitive dissonance, but they don't know they're doing it because they're too stupid to realize in one situation they're applying the same rule they're complaining about. And then in the other situation, when they say science proves things, when it doesn't.
I mean, this reminds me, by the way, I just want to congratulate Ranty Flat Earth, or well, as he was formerly known as Ranty Flat Earth, to get out of that. So he's apparently not a Flat Earther anymore. At least it was the last update that I got.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, about when he first came out of it, he was still denying. He thought the Earth might be disco ball shaped with flat bits on it, and locally flat in places. And he also claimed that refraction was bollocks. But now, as of about a month or so ago, he now accepted that he now seems to have junked this disco ball version of the Earth, and he's also said the refraction is a valid thing. So he's actually moved further into the globe now, and he's now mocking. He now spends his entire time mocking flatties. But a month ago, I was a bit suspicious that he was just going on a halfway house. But now he seems to have gone the whole hog now.
I mean, that is a long progress that takes a while, and obviously he's not gonna be completely deprogrammed overnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just Ranty, should you ever listen to this, well, good luck on your journey, I guess, and congratulations for getting out of that.
Yeah.
Also, Billy is correct in the chat that yes, we can in fact show that it's not green invisible fairies because that's self-contradictory.
Invisible to us.
We can see green.
Not
How can they be green?
Micro, can you?
Invisible?
If you're an invisible
can you see green,
fairy,
Micro? Can you?
Yes, I can.
The fairies can see the green of one, but we can't.
That doesn't make any sense.
The fairies can see themselves, but we can't. We can't see their green, but they can see their green.
So now it's the fairies' qualia that we're basing this on?
Pretty sure we just
Not
can't see the fairies because
qualia?
we're not in Ireland, but that's another topic. So let's go back to Riley's video. What do you think? Oh god, this is so bad.
Yes.
We've understood what density
A
is.
table.
In the same given amount of space, if there are
Now,
more
this is
things,
actually, by the way, he's actually grabbed someone else's video.
Yes.
This is actually not his.
Yes, I agree
But
that
you're
this
saying-
is far
you're saying
too high
Riley-
quality to be made by Riley. This is not
Also,
possible
can
to be a
you
Riley video.
turn it up a bit on YouTube?
Yeah,
Because
sure. I was making it silent on purpose, but I didn't know there was, speech.
Sensible commentary, yeah.
We want to
Yeah,
hear the
it's
smart
denser.
before we hear the stupid.
Density is simply the measure of how compact the mass in a substance or object is.
Correct.
It's mass
Yes.
per unit volume.
Yes.
And based on this formula, we can say that its unit is kilogram per meter cubed.
Correct.
So can you tell me what relative density is? Look at the word relative. What does it tell you? It tells us that we are looking at the density of something relative to the density of something. We are comparing the density of one thing to the density of another. That's all. But the question is, relative to what? It's most typically the density of water. Yes, we look at the density of an object relative to the density of water. How do we define the relative density of a substance? It equals the ratio of its density to that of water. Yes, density of the substance over the density of water. Can you tell me
Yes.
the unit of relative density? Look at the right-hand side and tell me the unit. As it is a ratio of
So
similar
Riley's
quantities,
overlaying the tough stuff
relative
at the top.
density will
Is
have
he
no-
answering her questions? Is he
No,
think-
I think he's trying to amend them.
Yes.
And by the way, we have a new person that joined. Hillel Finder is here, I think.
Well,
You're
he's
currently
not
muted.
talking.
We can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself.
What does that mean? The units must be the same for this calculation to match reality. Mismatch units was perceived. Does anybody understand
What?
what it means?
No, I have no idea what he means by that.
It's just
The units must be.
well, they are the kilograms per cubic meter.
Yeah, because they were comparing two things with the same unit, but you can have things that. I mean, I guess. No, that
no.
what? What? You wouldn't like if you're comparing like the relative measure of between two things. You're always gonna have the same unit because you're comparing the same quality of them.
Let's just continue and see what Riley's argument is gonna be about. My prediction is that at some point he'll just invoke that this is causing objects to fall down without trying to avoid involving gravity, right?
Yeah, no,
guess that's his
definitely.
end
That's
goal here.
that's where this is going.
Definitely.
Units.
Relative density zero.
The units from the numerator and denominator cancel each other out.
Oh,
The density of
okay,
water
that's what he
is
doesn't
1,000
understand.
kilograms per meter cubed, and the density of silver is 10,500 kilograms per meter cubed. So can you tell me the relative density of silver? It's easy.
No, I'm
Just
terrible
refer
at
to
math.
this formula and try answering it.
Dum, 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 dum.
It will equal the density of silver over the density of water.
Yes.
Substitute is
Yeah,
a
we
lot
get the
tells us
concept.
another
There we
important
go.
thing. It tells us
What the fuck is that concept about? We can do also what Newton and Einstein failed to do. Explain why.
Oh, so
thing at
now
the
you're
top.
smarter than Newton and Einstein.
Hold on, look at the top. We can accurately
Yeah.
predict the direction and the magnitude. Oh, yes. So density has direction, does it?
I guess so.
Pretty sure
Apparently.
that Riley has no idea what a vector is.
Actually, he started to us about a year ago. I think he now understands that vectors have direction. He does know that, actually.
I mean, he still doesn't understand what a scalar is.
He does, actually. He does understand what scalar is, actually.
Finally.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that
think
took
so.
forever because I tried to explain
Oh,
this
yeah.
to him like 20 times.
Yes.
a
When he finally
scalar-
worked out what a...
A scalar is someone who covers things in scales.
Yeah, I think about a year or a half ago, something straight. Geo, he cottoned on to it because everybody kept on saying how relative density can't account for it because it hasn't got a direction. It's vector. It's not a vector. And then he has actually used the word scalar in some of his arguments, and
That doesn't mean he understands what it is.
He did this
Oh,
already
no.
a while ago when I was still online last time. However, he completely used it wrong. He didn't understand what it was. Not at all.
Well, I think he does. Well, he does now. He understands that mass is a scalar, for instance, and he understands that vectors have direction. So he has improved, I think, but obviously misapplies them and doesn't understand them fully, of course. But he has occasionally said things relating to those two things correctly.
Are you saying that there's sparks of hope?
No, but I'm just saying. No, I mean, obviously he's been using them for nefarious purposes, but he has actually got to grips with some of the concepts partially.
There are vectors of hope because the hope has a direction.
But is it pointing upwards or downwards?
That's exactly.
Actually, in some ways, he's got worse with it. Although he's learned a bit more, he's then misusing whatever little knowledge he's gained, and he's now really adamant about gravity not being a force, even though he doesn't understand that Einstein's field equations in 3 dimensions reduce to Newton's equations. And he doesn't understand this how many times you tell him.
Yeah, you see a similar thing in quantum mechanics. When the Planck constant turns to 0, then much of quantum mechanics actually collapses into classical mechanics.
When it planks.
Planck's constant collapses to 0? What are you talking about?
So if there's a bunch of stuff in quantum mechanics there where if you assumed Planck's constant to be 0, big parts of those equations would just fly out, and you would end up with classical Newtonian equations. Kind of similar, yes. Kind of similar as what you see with relativity.
Right, okay, I've never seen that.
Like, for example, in relativity, when the Lorentz factor turns, was it 1 or 0?
Yes. Yeah, the Lorentz factor becomes 0.
No, I think 1, actually.
Sorry, V. Well, no, V. Oh, the Lorentz factor. Yes, yes, it will become 1. Yes,
Yeah,
but the
so-
V squared over C squared. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So if the entire thing is very close to 1, then obviously time dilation and the length contraction basically just disappear in the equations. Then you end up with classical Newton mechanics, Newtonian mechanics. And again, there's something very similar in quantum mechanics. Let's continue.
Yeah.
us whether the object will float or sink in water. In simple terms, a substance will sink if it's denser than the liquid it's placed in, and it will float if it's less dense than the liquid it's placed in.
Wait. Then if we add a science...
IV, I think that's
I
supposed
don't
to
know
be
if
an
it-
independent variable.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not 4. Okay.
I know that's a 4. That's a 4 right there.
Yeah, that's a
Ah, he is
4.
finally here. Hi, how are you doing?
Or it's an IV drip.
I love
Maybe
scientific.
it's
I love scientific 4.
intravascular.
Yeah, just
Oh,
inject me with all the science. I have the big syringes. Just put it in me.
I mean,
That's something you never want to hear.
You could also be scientific intramuscular.
So,
Or
before we continue,
subcutaneous.
hi Hillel, how have you been? I know we haven't spoken in forever. So, what's going on your end?
I'm doing okay. Are we live? At
We
the
are
moment? Are we
live.
just chatting? Oh God, I'm doing so well.
Yeah, it's almost like, life is good and not a complete nightmare from one day to the other, and existence is not pain. It's all fine. It's fine.
Yeah, totally.
My overlords tell me that that existence is in fact not pain. So
the
it's
situation on your end is good. Pandemic behind you.
Oh well,
As much as it's possible somewhere in the continental United States.
So
well,
no. The answer is no.
Here where I live in nondescript USA, it's COVID is very.
COVID is
Just
very.
been
Oh no, it's not.
He's been
It's
struck
not
down
so-
by it.
Quite.
He just caught it.
I think you need to repeat that. Your connection.
Oh no!
might have
I
flickered off.
know. I said everything I said.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
well.
I.
Well, let's just say over here, in the civilized world, the country has just taken away all COVID restrictions because the pandemic is basically over.
Well, it was more because the law they put in place ran out today, and they
Yeah.
decided to not lengthen it.
Yeah, that as well. But what is the vaccination rate now? Like almost 80%.
The rate is really low.
The total amount of people vaccinated over the entire population.
It's out of the total population, it's 73 for one, and it's 75 for.
That includes children.
That's the entire population. Of the people who who are eligible for receiving the vaccine, it's something around it's 80 something.
Yeah, we've got I think adults here it's 80 something. We've got been double vaccinated.
And now the first people are starting to get the third one.
Sorry, not double vaccinated. Sorry, no. I think it's
Fully vaccinated. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, we're not fully we haven't got 80% fully vaccinated. I think we're 80%, 85% have had one jab, and
Okay, yeah.
nearly 80% have had two.
Germany is so far behind; it's insane.
That's not
we're almost 10% behind Denmark. It hurts. It hurts me very much to see this. But apparently, idiots are everywhere.
Yeah, CyFTK is correct. The problem is that we have a lot of people who, especially younger people, who decided because all they need to get their vaccine passport to do things is just one shot. So a lot of them have just gotten the first shot so they could get that, and then they've not bothered with getting the second. Which honestly, they should have seen coming, but that's
that seems like something they should have definitely seen coming.
That's one of the few places where the Danish government has definitely mishandled the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean but to be honest, Micro, they've done much better than many other parts of Europe.
Yes,
I would say they're at least in the top 5. I mean, it took a little bit longer to take off, at least compared to the UK. So Rumpus, England was faster in administering in the beginning, but the rest of Europe pretty much took on, and many parts of it overtook UK now.
Not, well, I haven't checked it for a couple of weeks, but I thought it was just coming up to the UK level.
Well,
But yeah,
Denmark, I think, has passed it.
I think possibly Denmark may have just passed us.
probably.
Yeah, well, we've got more flipping ethnic minorities that don't believe in it. That's I think half the problem. In London, I think we got the.
We have that problem as well here, but we have made a specific a concerted effort to and found ways to reach them and talk to them on their terms. And like,
Yeah.
because often it's just it was like it was being like misinformation being spread mouth to mouth. And if like once someone actually got in there and explained how it actually worked, they were like, oh yeah, and then taking the vaccine.
I mean, that still shows that in our society over here, people, at least to a certain degree, are susceptible to reasoning. Whereas when you take a look at the US, and we've all seen the videos, you all know what I'm talking about. You have these absolute batshit crazy politicians. Not only politicians. Well, I mean, the prominent examples are the politicians, right? Who are just completely too far gone to have any reasonable discussion with. And then you end up with a situation like this, where basically the entire southern half of the US has no available ICU beds anymore.
Yeah, I think they've got about 1,200 deaths a day
Yes,
from
yes,
COVID
they
at the
do.
moment, which is 10 times more than us, and even though they got only 5 times the population of the UK. I mean, we've got more. We've got about less than 100 deaths a day, but I think we've got about 25,000 cases or something. Has anybody heard about what's happened to Rob Skiba? He was a rabid anti-vaxxer, and
Yes,
apparently he caught it and it's in a critical condition.
Yes, that's the last thing I've heard as well, that he's in the ICU and basically getting ventilated, as far as I'm aware.
Ventilated, bloody hell.
I think so. Wasn't that in the latest update?
Yes, well, I mean, once you're in the ICU with COVID, you're being ventilated. Like you start getting ventilated before you reach that stage.
I mean, he was a rabid anti-vaxxer, apparently. And,
that's a surprise.
Well, this flat Earth thing. It's just a symptom of many other problems.
I mean, to be honest, this is gonna be a little bit controversial. So here's my take on the entire situation. I cannot have any sympathy anymore for anybody at this point at this stage in the pandemic who refuses to get vaccinated for conspiratorial reasons or for religious reasons. I just can't. In the beginning, yeah, sure, 1 year ago maybe nobody knew how the virus behaved, and then when the vaccine came out, okay, I see that there's some sort of skepticism. But now if you see the numbers, right, as in how much the vaccines actually protect you from not only from being infected, but also that even if you are infected, which happens, from just dying in ICU beds.
Yes.
Or just dying in general. They all have it coming. I sorry, but I can't feel any sympathy anymore for any person who dies because of their own stupidity. I mean, sure, if you die because you can't get the vaccine for medical reasons or because it's just not available, that's obviously a different thing.
Then we can blame the deaths or the idiots.
But if you're an idiot who refuses to get vaccinated and then dies because of COVID, how the hell am I supposed to feel with you? I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I really tried, but at that point, I just can't anymore. And there was this case in the US a few days ago. Some anti-coronavirus restrictions speaker or something by the name of Caleb Wallace, I think. Caleb something. There was this interview that he held a year ago or so, basically, spewing all the conspiratorial crap about the pandemic. And he just died a few days ago at the ICU. So he leaves a wife and 3 kids, 4th kid's on the way. So, sorry for your loss, I guess. I mean, I'm not glad he's dead, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad he's gone. I mean,
yeah, because he could be causing other people to die.
Yeah. I mean, what the fuck are we supposed to think at this point? They all have it coming. Maybe this is, good old Darwin's way to weed out the stupid.
That's not how that works.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Just amazing.
So, well, that was my rant on the entire situation. Do you know what Riley's and Oakley's opinion currently is about the pandemic?
Oh, he was a denier, wasn't he? Yes, he claimed it was all nothing
Yeah,
happening.
that's how he
no one was
lost his
responsible.
channel.
Well, that was last time when I heard about it. It was over a year ago at this point. So, are there any updates?
No, I don't really follow. Well, actually, he hasn't given out that many videos. I don't know what he's been. No, I don't know what he's been saying recently. But I think he was a denier of it. I mean, there was Ranty saying you should go out and panic buy everything, and then his freezer broke down, so he bought all this 100 kilograms of whatever it was chicken he had in his freezer all went to waste because he panic
I'm sorry.
buyed.
That's just hilarious. That's pretty fucking funny.
It is. And then he was all being a huge panic, and then Riley was doing the exact opposite, saying, "No, it's nothing. I've got was it my mother or something knows something to do with the health service in this country and claimed there were very few people coming in or something." So he denied anything was happening at all. So we had the two extremes with those two. One was the let's panic, and the other one was saying, "No, it's all made up." And both of them were wrong. I mean, it's just you can't to get it both wrong was just spectacular.
Yeah.
Let's find out what
such a sad situation. I mean, how many people died unnecessarily in the last 18 months because there are all those wild conspiracy theories out there, because there's paranoia, because even the media are, at least in the US, are kind of supporting it, right? I mean, not here in Europe, obviously. But in the US, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Well, Jesus Christ doesn't need to be vaccinated. He's God, so...
That's true. But then again, you don't need to be vaccinated if you don't exist, so... I
don't think zombies need to be vaccinated in general.
Maybe they're just zombies because they were.
I guess Jesus isn't actually a zombie. He's more like a lich, or maybe a rife.
I see your point. Well, should we come back to the main topic?
Yes.
Oh, just one thing. In this country, in the UK, I think something like 90% of people have the antibodies, even if they haven't been vaccinated. So we are.
That's really high.
Yeah.
That implies that 90% of the country has been infected. Huh?
Yeah, that's right. Because a random sample, they know this because this was done based on a random sample. It wasn't based on any vaccination data or anything. We're just simply taking a sample of people, 10,000 or something, seeing what the percentage of them with antibodies are, and it turned out to be incredibly high.
Oh, it's pretty insane.
That sounds a little too high, because if that's representative of the entire UK, the death toll should be much, much higher.
Well, yeah, but most of them are caused by vaccination, of course. Most of the people have the antibodies as a result of vaccination.
Oh, okay. No, the way you said it made it sound like those were all the people who hadn't been like.
No. This is the total population.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, and most of it will be the result of vaccination, but obviously a lot of it is. Children, of course. I mean, the thing is, most of the children are. Well, in fact, we're not quite sure whether to vaccinate people under 16 or not in this country.
Well, Rumpus, it looks like what's it called? Not Pfizer, BioNTech recently announced that they are working on a vaccine for children, and it's probably gonna be approved in the next few weeks or months. So that is on the way.
Yes.
Right.
So
I think it's the same. It's the same
population that we're currently not vaccinating yet will be vaccinated.
Well, the thing is, in this country, we've got this advisory body called JCVI or something.
Yeah, we have something similar.
And they're saying that the benefits and costs side of it for children is just not because they don't get ill. Therefore, the chances of being the vaccine.
They do get ill, and what's even worse is that they just carry it around to their relatives.
Exactly, but yes, they do. Yes, they're vectors. Yes, but nonetheless, the dangers of vaccinate for an individual child, the benefits and the cost-benefit analysis is very dubious because they just simply don't get ill anyway from it.
That's why
you need to think about
Pfizer
is. Scale here. You need to look into the entire population as a whole.
Yes. Also, that's why Pfizer is doing the clinical trials.
Right.
To answer exactly those questions.
So yeah, I mean, although there might be vectors, but if you're looking for the individual health of the individual, you can say, well, actually, for you that the having a vaccine
Well,
comes slight. I mean, because they don't get
true for
ill,
most
then
vaccines.
the dangers of having a vaccine, become not quite comparable. But just the benefits don't really. Are doubtful.
No, the thing is, you have to you cannot analyze vaccines in that way. You have to analyze them as a public health measure because that is what they are.
Well, yeah, but if you take this individual group of society and say, well, does this group, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you take the whole picture, then yes, obviously, vaccinating everybody, even if even if some more children were going to die of something, then overall fewer people would die. But I think the idea is that if you just consider that group of people, i.e., children, then for them, it's actually potentially doubtful whether they get any benefit from it. But obviously, the population as a whole do.
Yeah, and it's going to affect the whole population, so you have to analyze it for the whole population.
Yeah. Yes, I mean the politicians have said, well, actually, although you've given this advice for this sex of children, we actually, as our overall measure, because they're losing education and things, even if they get other considering the whole population view, then the politicians are probably going to say no, we'll actually vaccinate children, but the actual body that worries about they just concern themselves with the health. I think this body just does the health implications of something. And presumably they're just taking a sectional view of that particular group of people, whether that individually benefits or not. Although they're obviously responsible for public health in general, I'm not quite sure what their remit is in that regard. But yes, anyway, it's a confusing issue.
Back to Riley.
Yep.
Yeah, back to Riley. So just again regarding the vaccine stuff, if you're not vaccinated yet, for the people in the side chat, please get vaccinated.
You can.
Yeah,
if you can get vaccinated,
if you have the opportunity, do it. Do it as soon as possible. If you have only one shot so far, get the second one. If they're offering a third one, get that one as well. Which vaccine, it doesn't really matter after all. By the data of it, it will protect you from basically just severe cases.
Any vaccine is better than no vaccine.
Yeah, in this case. And they're all super effective. So go ahead and do that. Enough people have already died, unfortunately. So yeah, back to Riley. So I just maybe play the next minute or so. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You need to add a scientific independent variable. How is a scientific independent variable different than a non-scientific independent variable?
How can we say this mathematically? If the relative density of a substance is greater than 1, then it will sink. And if it's lesser than 1, it will float.
I'm pretty sure that Riley is stupid enough to not be able to adapt this knowledge to something floating in a different liquid than water.
Oh, is he gonna bring up boats? Is he gonna be like, well, boats are made of steel?
Who knows, maybe? What? Okay.
He's objecting to them using the word sink and float.
Okay, so he does know that liquids are basically incompressible, that the density of the entire column of the ocean water is basically uniform. Then why the fuck do bubbles still rise to the top? I mean, the density in all directions is identical. He can't explain this.
The density of the water at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is like 5% higher than its surface.
Yeah, but that's mainly because it's at 4 degrees Celsius. Like if everything was the entire water column was the same temperature, it would all be almost exactly the same density.
Yeah.
The reason why the water deeper in the ocean is more dense is because it has this ideal packing, which water reaches at about 4 degrees Celsius. If it gets colder, then the density actually goes down again. It's called water's density anomaly.
Hence ice.
Hence ice, yes. Imagine if that wasn't the case. We'd be
Indeed.
fucked.
We would be.
Well, then oceans would freeze from the bottom.
Yeah, which would be trouble.
Yeah, that would be a serious issue. By the way, water's not the only substance that does that. There are a few other ones.
Yeah, there are plenty of them do that.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There are even some elements that do that.
I mean, this germanium, I think, does it, and silicon might as well.
I think antimony?
Could be.
this direction and magnitude. I mean, it's just incredible. This idea of relative density. For a start, of course, density does not have direction, so there's a problem in itself. But even if you take it that it does, and this less dense and more density has got the correct direction is more or less dense. Well, hold on. If I hold a ball in the air, there's actually the air above it is slightly less dense than the air below it. So why doesn't it shoot upwards? Stupid bastards. Just, I mean, this has been explained to them a million times, but oh my god, this is this relative direction thing. Yes, he thinks that directions are relative to human. He doesn't understand if a human turns upside down, that he seems to imply by the fact that they're only relative to a human. Obviously, if you turn a human upside down, suddenly you would fall upwards. You would fall upwards. I mean, the guy is an absolute moron. It's just incredible. So they're saying it's relative to a human. They're not absolute direction. So if you turn, apparently it always goes through your head. Up is always through your head. So if you bend down or something, then suddenly up is down towards the ground. Stupid bastard.
The only thing here that does that, you could really say does that, is left and right.
Yes. By the way, there are a few languages where the concept of left and right doesn't exist.
Where you always go with the corners of the world.
Yeah, I really enjoy my northern.
And those the people who grow up speaking those languages, they're usually able to tell. They just naturally keep track of which direction north is. Like they will just inherently know roughly which way it is, which is kind of cool.
This is one of his This is one of Riley's favourite things. This relative direction to the human body. I mean, it's just unbelievable. His favourite thing he references, I think, just about. Yeah.
As this animation glitches out. No?
What happened there? Who's doing?
I think it was Bob Nodell.
No, stop. No. What humans perceive as up and down has nothing to do with more or less dense. That perception comes from your vestibular system and your visual system. They're like, one is based on just seeing how the world looks and seeing if it matches what it usually does, and the other one's literally dependent on gravity. But like, the perception you have of those things are like caused by seeing things and gravity. Two things flat earthers don't understand.
Gee, I think I'm gonna have to go. I'm afraid my headache is starting to get a bit worse again.
Yeah, no,
that is fair enough. I cannot blame you for your headache when you see shit like that, you know. So thank you very much for joining, and have
that's
a nice
my
evening,
pleasure. Bye, Micro. Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Oh, thank God he's gone. I'm kidding.
Let's continue. By the way, when we're done with this video, I think I'm gonna stop the stream. I only wanted it to run for 1 hour, and we're already 90 minutes. So let's just finish this. Direction in real life is more or less dense than the medium.
What is a blurfer? Is it a ball earther?
Yeah, I assume that's supposed to be a ball earther, yes.
That doesn't work. It doesn't work like flurfer does.
Again, the direction in real life is more or less dense than the medium. What's the pi video? Wait a second.
As the relative density of silver is 10.5, which is greater than 1, it will sink in water.
I'm gonna, run this
But
a bit
if we-
quicker because we all know how
As
to do
it's
it.
lesser than 1, it will float in water. Relative density of 0.1. You'll see more of it is inside the water. And if it's 0.9,
Oh my god, please
even
skip
more
this
of it will be
voice
inside the water. Here's
Yeah,
one
we
last
get
question
it.
for
We
you.
get it.
Can the relative density of an object be 0?
Well, yes.
The answer is no. It can't
Yes,
be
it
0.
can.
No, by the definition they're going with, it can't be.
Why? You can have two things with the same.
Yeah, but then the relative density is 1.
Oh, yeah, okay, I guess.
Yep, no, 0 wouldn't work.
Because if the relative density is 0, it will mean
Light is but light is not an object. It's not made out of baryonic matter. So Riley, if you want to invoke that one, then does that count? I wouldn't know. Photons have no mass, but they are considered particles. So you can't have a cube full of photons. Well, you can't have.
You can, but it will stop being a cube of photons very, very quickly.
that the density of the substance is 0, which in turn will mean that the mass of the substance is 0. For any given substance, its mass in a given volume cannot be 0. And you should also know that relative density is constant only under given conditions. It is pressure and temperature dependent.
Yeah. Pressure and temperature cause acceleration too.
And there's the top.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean? If a boat...
What? What the fuck do you mean if a boat adds pressure?
I mean, is he trying to say that it gets heavier? If you have a heavier boat, it sinks more. It's like deeper laying in the water. The water line is like higher compared to it.
I mean,
Doesn't matter.
That's not how, like, you can't really use boats then as an example here. Like, I mean, you can, but like the math is the same, but you have to take into account that you can't just depend on the material. You also have to take the actual shape into account.
You can literally build a boat out of tungsten and it would float.
Yeah.
Not that I recommend it. The tungsten is expensive.
Then just use lead, I guess, would work.
All boats must be built out of osmium.
If the cargo ship is overloaded in the UK, by the time it gets to the Bahamas, the warm water has become less dense and the boat appears to be heavier. Okay, so...
No.
I mean,
the boat doesn't appear to be heavier. It appears to be heavier if you assume that the water hasn't changed.
I mean, it sinks deeper in, but we know why that is.
Yeah, no, it only appears to be heavier if you're an idiot.
Or if you're Riley. No, wait, same thing.
I was about to say, isn't Riley synonym for idiot?
Pretty sure that if you open a dictionary, look for idiot or buffoon or whatever, you find a picture of Riley.
No, generally you will find how to spell idiot. If you look up if you look it up in a lexicon, you will find it.
You're ruining the joke.
Yes,
Oh, but he's right. I'm usually that pedantic, but in this case, Micro actually got me.
Yeah, but he's ruining the joke.
Yes, that is my job.
I think he wanted to show... Didn't he want to show us how to calculate it?
What?
Yes, that's how a balance system works.
I mean, it's still going up, right?
Yeah, it's going up. No, even if we go with his stupid thing, all the people inside the submarine, unless they're standing on their fucking head, it's still going up. Oh, I guess we had to have that sound effect.
Lateral displacement will occur by taking advantage of the wind. Yeah, that's gonna happen anyway. Have you ever tried to start a balloon? They're
No.
already being blown away if you're not careful.
I've seen it, but I have in fact not tried to start a balloon myself. I've also never been in a balloon.
Okay. I've been in a blimp once. That was fun.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Are you saying or trying to say that obvious Zeppelin joke?
Of course.
I was more thinking you could easily make I have been in a GIMP joke.
Yeah.
Okay, what contains more hot air, that balloon or Riley's head?
The balloon, it's far bigger than his head.
I still don't understand how something can be as empty and as full of hot air as Riley's head.
Well, it's empty in one thing and filled with the hot air. The same way a glass is empty.
Okay. Then I can't understand how something can be as hollow. I understand no way that joke doesn't work either. You know what I mean. He's a walking, talking oxymoron. Higher pressure going to lower pressure. No, the pressure is equal. The pressure inside that hot air balloon and the surrounding air around it, that's equal. Otherwise, it equalizes automatically because we have this big hole in the hull on the bottom. You see that over there?
There's also a hole in the top.
There is, but you can regulate that. You can have
Yeah,
it
but
theoretically
it is still there.
Yeah, but the main one is here. So he's wrong about with hot air balloons that the pressure inside is different than outside. It's not the case. For blimps, as long as they run on helium, yes, they are completely closed. Hot air blimps usually, which are just basically just steerable balloons, the same applies for those compared to normal hot air balloons.
Hydrogen balloons are great. Hot air balloons are great. We should combine them.
No, bad idea, bad micro.
Yeah, the Germans tried
Even
that.
though I'm pretty sure they did try something though, where one of the first actual rigid airships that had an engine actually did use the hydrogen. It's buoyant floating gas also for its engine, which is pretty insane if you think about it.
Oh, humanity!
I am disappointed that no one took the opportunity to call hydrogen and helium balloons cold air balloons.
Well, because they're not air.
It's still there's a missed opportunity. Cool. That's a lot of balloons. That is a lot of balloons.
Yeah, but then again, he got the pressure wrong. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Rise, my pretties, rise!
The zombies came out of the ground.
I mean, he kind of has the right idea. The last sentence shows that he has some sort of concept of it, but he keeps on ignoring, or conveniently ignoring, I guess, the fact that you need gravity for all of this to work.
Yes.
You need that constant pull of the Earth, or
That's why he has to do this. The stupid up means like going in the direction of your head,
Yes.
which I guess means he's never tried to lay down.
So if he dives, is his head going up, down? Bum bum.
Depends on how he
bum.
dies. If it's something that punctures the head. Medium of 0. Medium of 0.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
I know what he means. He means like there's like that it has 0 density.
Everything will displace a 0 value but light.
Oh god, he's trying to explain the
Except his
speed
head.
of light. He's trying to explain the speed of why the speed of light is what it is.
Oh, the retardation. Oh, the
I
humanity.
think maybe. Jesus Christ. This looks like fun. I want to go. Yeah, you're so smart. You're so smart.
Again, both Newton and Einstein both were right. I mean, one was a little bit righter than the other one. But both of the
and then
both
at
of
some
the
point,
mathematical models explain how everything behaves.
I want to go. Like this looks fun, and it looks like it's gonna would be very pretty.
Oh yeah.
Would be relaxing.
I guess deaf people have would have a better time in the balloon since they don't have to deal with the noise.
Oh yeah, these things are fucking loud. I had one going over my parents' house once, maybe about a decade ago. Actually longer, probably.
We had like a little.
Stupid piece of burner thingy that just it's pretty fucking loud actually.
Yeah, no, we had a festival that where they all went, where a bunch of them went over here recently.
I didn't notice it. Then again, I didn't really look outside all that much.
Well, you also not like you're several like tens of kilometers away.
Where is it?
Like it was here. Like
Yep.
they went over where I live.
Yeah, but where exactly? Like exactly where you live, or?
Yes, exactly where I live.
Okay. Well, now I would have the perfect view. I'm looking in the right direction, and I have a giant window front now. So
Okay, they don't go. They're not like that big. You wouldn't be able to see hot air balloons over my house.
Hot air balloons you can see from 50 kilometers away, micro. We had lots of them in Franconia. You can see them very far away.
Okay, but these weren't that high up.
That, well, I mean, it's too dark now. But, depends on how high they are. Maybe, I guess. But in terms of angular size, would be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I know, but like these weren't that high up. They had just taken off and they were flying away from the direction you would be able to see them.
Yeah, well, again, they are, well, you can see them pretty far away. Obviously, that depends on the exact position. You know when that happens next time?
I have no idea.
Yeah, SciFDK Denmark is pretty flat, and I'm also pretty high in the building here. But there is a forest right next to me, so yeah, there's a bunch of trees in the way.
And you have to take the ghost into account.
Oh yeah,
the ghosts into account. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really like me. Apparently, it's an old cemetery from the war from 1864, so I really don't like Germans. Yeah, kind of annoying, with their floating sound and the glowing. Kind of keeps you awake at night.
Stupid ghosts.
Yeah. May they
piss off, ghosts.
Rest in peace, I guess. Apparently they don't. Well, I guess, guys, we're gonna stop it here. Thank you very much for watching. I'll try to have one of these hangouts at least once a month, whenever that's possible. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Next month will be a bit stressy, unless there's something that really needs to be talked about. Until then, stay safe. Again, if you're not vaccinated yet, get vaccinated.
Get your fucking shots.
Yes. Get tested. If you think you have symptoms, stay at home. if you have symptoms,
I mean, do that anyways.
yeah,
You
look
also
after your
don't want to
family.
spread other
If you
things.
notice there are any people in your family that might have issues getting through this without assistance, then help them. Even if you're already, even if you're vaccinated, even if you're not vaccinated, there are people that need more help than you do. Help them. And other than that, I guess see you next time. What about you guys? You want to say anything before we stop this?
No.
I mean, if I say no, then I've technically said something.
Yeah,
so I would be contradicting myself. So I'm not gonna.
No doorknob licking, even though it's tasty.
So yeah, that means we're gonna end it now. One more announcement. I do want to have a hangout in the future where I actually talk about my research. So I'm gonna try to make a presentation, dumbing down everything a bit so that laypersons can understand what I'm actually dealing with.
It's really boring.
So far, I can't tell you when that would be. At latest, probably during the Christmas week. So thank you very much, and see you next time.